Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's the final Wednesday in March. The playoffs are almost upon us. Can you feel it? Things in the East are getting desperate. Everybody is scratching and clawing for each and every point they can get. Whereas meanwhile, out West, everybody seems to just be getting out of the way of Colorado, Minnesota, and, maybe Dallas. Otherwise, nobody out West seems to want to do anything. Who will step up in the Pacific? Will the Ducks really take the Pacific? Really? We will be discussing that, taking a look at the playoff picture. We had a championship crowned in the NCAA this past weekend. The Wisconsin Badgers winning back-to-back women's national titles. We will look back on their victory over Ohio State, and we'll get you set up for the men's Frozen Four tournament, getting ready to get underway here later this weekend. And also the PWHL is making its push for the playoffs and getting set to have 2 million fans in attendance for their games. What a number, just 3 seasons in. All that plus more coming up right here, right now. This is the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio. Do not go anywhere. Let's have some fun. Good evening, hockey fans, one and all. You have found your way into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. He is Freddie B. I am Adam Karnik. Sorry you've missed me the last couple weeks. Life. What can I say?
I know.
Life.
It's great to have you back, Adam. It's much better doing this show with a co-host, bouncing things off one another. So I'm glad we were able to both coordinate and get this done here tonight. A lot of hockey to talk about. It's been a busy few weeks. We're 3 weeks out from the end of the season. Still so much to be decided on both the Eastern and Western Conference playoff fronts. Like you talked about, we've got college hockey, men's tournament starting, women's, we just crowned a champion. So much going on. But yes, thank you for being back, Adam.
I'm glad my key to the building still worked. So, good to be back. We have a ton to get into, and yes, the other Adam is just as we figured. Our good friend Adam S is here. His attentions are very divided tonight. As not only is he listening to us, he's keeping a very close eye on his Buffalo Sabres, his surging Buffalo Sabres. As my goodness, Buffalo has kind of become the kings of the hockey world here in the last couple of weeks. We will be discussing the Sabres. Before we dive too much in, though, we do want to give a quick shout out and thank you to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Be sure to go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They're offering free shipping on all orders of $50 and above when you do. Whatever you pick out, whether you like it to be mild, whether you want it to be a little bit of kick, whether you want it to be just rip my tongue out of my face, they will have something for your palate, and you will enjoy it. I guarantee it. Also, thank you to Vital Apparel, the brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Go to vitalapparel.com, use the promo code IESR upon checkout, and you get 15% off of your order. So thank you also to Vital Apparel. And IE Sports Radio, we are available for you on the socials. You can find us on Twitter and on YouTube at IE Sports Radio. Also go to the website, iesportsradio.com. You can check us out there. You can learn about this show, the other shows on the network. You can watch shows direct from the website. You can direct people there and follow along on all the social feeds. This show is also available for you on Twitter at IESR Neutral Zone. He is at Freddie B_sports. I am at Adam_Karnik. So let's dive into the scores for tonight. It's a good thing that we're doing this tonight and not last night, huh? As in the NHL.
We would have spent, the first part of the show just going over the scoreboard last night with 15 games. 15
games. Tonight, a little bit easier to go through. Just 2 games total on the docket tonight in the NHL. In Toronto, north of the border, we've got the Maple Leafs handling the Rangers 4-3 with 5 minutes and change left to go in regulation on that one. The Rangers trying to amend for a truly abysmal showing earlier this week. And then the one that our friend Adam S. is keeping very close tabs on. He had a lot of other people, though, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Bruins, Sabres in Buffalo. The Sabres on top of the Bruins 3-2, but there is still a lot of time left to go in that one. 10 minutes and change left to go in regulation. Jason Zucker just gave the Sabres, I almost said something else there. Jason Zucker, with his 22nd goal of the season on the power play, gives the Sabres the lead. Buffalo was down 2-1 in this one. Pasternak and Victor Arvidsson scoring goals for the Bruins, but the power play working well tonight for the Sabres. Jason Zucker scoring twice on the power play has Buffalo up 3-2 with 10 minutes left to go in regulation on that one.
Yeah, it's a big game. And a big, we got 2 big fans here at IE Sports Radio. B Mad Dog is a giant Bruins fan, and Adam S. We talk Sabres all the time as well. I love, having a Buffalo Sabres fan excited and smack talking is exciting. We haven't had this luxury in a very long time, Adam, and I'm all for it. I am all aboard that Sabres train as well. But yeah, big game for both teams because Boston right now on the outside looking in, right?
Yes.
I mean,
they're
just trying to get in right now, and it's tough. And Buffalo looking to win their division and contend with Carolina for the top team in the Eastern Conference.
Yep. Before we move on for that, though, we did have two other games in action over in the PWHL. In Minnesota tonight, the Montreal Victory went into Minnesota and blanked the Frost 3-0. And then in Chicago, the New York Sirens and the Seattle Torrent are playing. The Torrent all over New York 3-0 at the end of 2. They're playing. That one is in Chicago as part of the Takeover Tour, their second stop in Chicago this season. So Seattle trying to stay alive in the playoff race, and Montreal making a good showing for itself against the number 1 team in the PWHL. We'll dive into that a little bit later on in the show as well. But we did have a couple of PWHL games, so we wanted to make sure we included those in the scores. But then, yes, let's get into the playoff picture as we are. First of all, it's the last Wednesday in March.
Where's the time gone? I don't know.
Goodness.
It's felt like for this entire month that we are in the middle of August here in Southern California with record temps. We had triple digits for a few days, but maintaining mid 90s. It sucks right now in March. We should have some cooler temps, but no, the action on the ice is just as hot as the temperatures out here. And like you said, Adam, we've got 2 teams that have clinched, obviously. A third team probably going to clinch soon with Minnesota. But then there's so much to be decided. Like, who wants to take and win the Pacific Division? I talked about that last week. Like, nobody wants to win. There were 3 nights when every team lost in the Pacific. And my Kings had great opportunity to get a win and make up ground and get in, and they just followed suit. And, we've got surging teams like Nashville in the West. We've got teams like Columbus and Ottawa right now in the Eastern Conference. So a lot of going on.
Yeah, an absolute ton going on in the playoff picture right now. And only one, the other on the flip side of it, only one team has been officially eliminated to this point too. The Vancouver Canucks at the bottom of the Central Division are the only team officially out of it. Now, obviously you've got some other teams that are, not long for this season. The New York Rangers at just 65 points. They don't have much left in their gas tank. The Blackhawks, the Flames, both is 67 points. It won't be long and they'll be officially eliminated, but still we're almost to April and you've got 31 of 32 teams still mathematically alive. That adds a lot of intrigue into this. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the East or should we start with the West when having this discussion?
I think we should start with the Eastern Conference because there are a lot better teams right now in the Eastern Conference than there are in the Western Conference. Connor, what did Connor McDavid say? He said this is like the Pacific is the pillow fight division. Is that what he said yesterday? Come on. It really is. I mean, every team really outside of the Ducks, even the Ducks would not be in a playoff spot if they were in the Eastern Conference right now. That's incredible.
Yeah, I would put it this way. The parity in the East is a lot better. The distance between 1 and 8 for keeping it simple is a lot closer. I still think at this point your best teams are residing in that Central Division, but yeah, if you're going to just I'm going to grab a random team from the East and a random team from the West, I'm going to take the Eastern Conference team right now pretty much sight unseen on that because your chances are you're going to be getting a better team. You're looking at the Atlantic Division right now. Buffalo currently leading the Atlantic, but just 2 points in front of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Lightning have a game in hand, and it'll be 2 games in hand once Buffalo's done with this game tonight with Baltimore. Montreal still hanging on there in 3rd place in the Atlantic, still that automatic playoff bid then. There. Then in the Metro, you've got Carolina at 96, pretty comfortable lead. Columbus and Pittsburgh then duking it out for 2 and 3, and then Boston and Ottawa right now, the wild card spots. But the Islanders, a huge loss last night at home to the Blackhawks. That really hurt their playoff chances as they failed to even record a point. So they remain tied with Ottawa. Ottawa right now a game in hand, so they've got the playoff spot. The Red Wings only 1 point out of a playoff spot right now. The Flyers are still alive, and then you get a little further down the road. But a lot of depth. In this conference.
The Red Wings and the Islanders, 2 teams that were solidly in this playoff picture the entire season. Detroit had been, leapfrogging Montreal all year. One team would be second and the other team would be third, and they'd go back and forth. But right now, Detroit is having their struggles. And when you take a look at Detroit, if they were to be in the playoffs, they're the only team in the Eastern Conference that would have a negative goal differential. They're at a -4. The Flyers are at a -10, but the Red Wings were currently in a playoff spot. Now, what I want to bring up is Columbus and just the run that they have gone on, Adam. We kind of talked about this, once they got Rick Bowness in there, they just started, taking their game to a whole new level. 19-3-4 in the 26 games that Rick Bowness has coached that club. They've put themselves into 2nd place right now in the Metro. And I don't see them stopping. They're not going to catch Carolina, but I think we could lock in Columbus probably after this weekend and say, they're going to get in. The teams I'm worried about is like the Bruins right now. They just had a 2-1 lead. They're 1 point in a playoff spot right now. And then you give up 2 quick goals to Buffalo. You may come away with no points in this game. That could be a huge blow to the Bruins. So so much going on. And Ottawa, what they've kicked up their team. Ottawa's not a fluke. They were a playoff team last year, and it's just taken them a little bit longer. They're finally doing everything. They've gotten outstanding goaltending as of late. They're getting great, offense and defensive play. Very suffocating type of team to play against. Very frustrating team, as we saw in that Red Wing game the other night. Ottawa and Columbus, two teams surging. And then, it's going to come down to Boston, Detroit, and the Islanders, I think, to who gets that final wild card spot.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, looking at the Atlantic right now, there's only two teams at this point that I would realistically call out of the playoffs in the Atlantic. The Panthers and the Maple Leafs. To me, they are out. Everybody else, though, you're in to some degree or another. I mean, obviously, I don't think Detroit or Ottawa is climbing all the way up and winning the division. I don't even know if they're necessarily going to get into the top three at this point.
Ottawa can, and the way they're playing 8-2-4. I'm sorry, 8-2-0 over their last 10, winners of 4 straight. They're playing good. It comes down really to strength of schedule, I think, the rest of the way. The Flyers were on a really good run on their Western trip, against the Kings and the Ducks. They played really good hockey. They put themselves right back into that, talk as well. But what's going on with the Islanders? I mean,
last night it's funny. I get in my car to come home from work, and I had to stop and make a couple errands before I could really start coming home. And it was, oh yeah, Blackhawks game. I can listen. Oh, great. I'll get to listen to that on my drive home. Literally, I sit down, I turn the radio on, and I hear puck goes back to Schaefer. He shoots and scores. As I just said, oh, come on.
I think Matthew Schaefer had like 9 shots on goal last night too. Freaking crazy.
Now, ultimately, the goal wasn't his, and okay, but that's getting into the weeds there. But it was, oh my goodness, this couldn't be a worse start. I think honestly, what happened after that, the Blackhawks weathered a storm, and then the Islanders just, it's the Blackhawks. We can take our foot off the gas pedal here.
Yeah,
that was one the Islanders had to have.
That was disgusting. Yeah.
With the positioning that they are in right now, which they're a point out. They are just 1 point behind the Penguins for third in the Metro. So even though they're out of the playoffs right now, it doesn't take much to put the Islanders back in. They could wind up staying in the division and playing that way, playing Columbus in the first round. They had to have points last night.
That's such a backbreaking loss, Adam. They outshot Chicago 47-24. So you would think statistically they would have dominated this game. That's just, like, you cannot have bad losses like this right now when you're fighting for a playoff spot. I go back to my Kings. I've harped on them all year. They've set franchise record for the amount of overtime games they've played. They also just set the record for the amount of overtime and shootout losses in a season as well. So many wasted points. You can't go into Calgary and only pull out 1 point in this fight that you're in. And for the Islanders, hopefully that's not like a dagger for them, because they've been playing, so well all season. I really like their team. Ilya Sorokin has been talked about to being, the Vezina probably favorite to win. And I got to see the Islanders step up and come out and go and maybe, string 3 or 4 wins together to really set the tone.
Yeah. Now they tried to give Sorokin the night off last night. And that absolutely blew up in their face. It absolutely, that was not the way they wanted it to. That was not the way they wanted that going. That was not what they had in mind. Giving up 3 goals in the final 6 minutes and change of the first period, and suddenly you went from absolutely dominating and leading 1-0 to, hey, we're down 3-1.
Yeah.
And now you need to put Sorokin in, and he doesn't get the night off. And then Sorokin gave up a goal in the second period, and we no need to relitigate the whole game there. Suffice to say that was a terrible loss for the Islanders as they're trying to make this push.
Yeah, Adam, on the bright side, being a Chicago Blackhawk fan like you are, that's nice to see Anton Frundell pick up an assist in his debut game as well. And then Nick Lardis, had a goal and 2 assists. He had a great game. He was the number 1 star. You like to see these young guys for Chicago. This is like a playoff type of game for them. They're not going to make the playoffs, but for these young guys, this is their opportunity to really shine and prove that they belong on this roster and what the future is going to be like for the Blackhawks. I loved it. I love when there's teams like this that are playing spoiler. And, credit to Chicago for pulling out that game. But yeah, Islanders got to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, you had multiple points from Tyler Bertuzzi. You had multiple points from Nick Lardis, and Anton Frundell making his NHL debut last night. And the pass that he made on his first NHL point, everybody on the Islanders defense was, he's passing to Bedard. Just go key on Bedard. And he had the wherewithal and the vision to, oh, look, there's Bertuzzi wide open. I'll just feed it through there. Everybody thinks I'm going this way. I'm going to zig when everybody thinks I'm going to zag. And Bertuzzi gets a beautiful opportunity. So yeah, that was fantastic. Oh yeah, the Blackhawks fan of me, I was cheering like crazy. I was enjoying every bit of it. But there was a part of me going, wow, what is wrong with the Islanders? You've got to have this, and it's at home. You've got to have this, Islanders. Yeah. So I am for them. I was concerned. Now we've got we've got one game that just went final. We've got the Maple Leafs get 2 points over the Rangers. That game doesn't mean a whole lot. The other game, we've got a tie game in Buffalo.
We do have a tie game.
3-3 with 2 minutes and change left to go. Casey Middlestat with his 14th of the season, tying it up for Boston. So
we talked about Boston.
A 3-point game.
Yeah, and I just said Boston, coming away with no points, and then they come back and score. 2 minutes to go now. They can get that bonus point and win it here in extra time. That's huge in a game that they, not dominated, but had a lead after 2 periods. Give it up early, battle back. I like to see that in playoff teams. Don't roll over and die. Fight till the end. And I think the Bruins are probably going to have the best fight between like the Islanders and the Red Wings. I think the Bruins are probably the biggest dog as far as the fight goes. So yeah, we love seeing this. This is playoff hockey, 3 weeks to go in the regular season. And to touch real quick, like the top leaders in the Eastern Conference, Adam, Carolina has been just dominant all year. There's not enough things that you can say about them. I just hope Rod Brind'Amour can finally get over the hump and take his team to a cup final. And then you've got, Tampa and Buffalo just slugging it out back and forth. Buffalo got the better end of them the last couple of times that they've played, but it's really going to come down to probably the last couple of days in the season to see who wins that division. I'll tell you one thing, though. If they meet each other, which they probably will in the second round, that is going to be a bloodbath. We know Tampa Bay is like the leading, fighting major team, most penalized team in the league. And then, we saw what carried over that last 8-7 epic game that the two of them played. I am looking forward to those two Goliaths, battling each other. And then at the end, if it can all work out and you play Carolina for the Eastern Conference final, I think we're in for some big treats.
Obviously, we've got a lot that would happen between now and then, but should we get that? Should we get that scenario? Buffalo is going to go crazy. That arena is going to be electric. Whether it's for 3 games or 4 in Buffalo, whether they're games 1 and 2 or whether it's games 3 and 4, those games will be awesome.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to ask Adam S. I know he's a huge Sabres fan. He watches every game. I watch as much hockey as I can. I try to catch the Sabres whenever they're on. Must see TV right now. I want to know like how the city of Buffalo and upstate New York is really promoting it, the Sabres. Are they getting the Buffalo Bills involved and having some of their stars attend these games? I think that would be fantastic if you see Josh Allen showing up to these games, rooting on this team and this city that's been a lovable loser for so long. You've got to get everybody together. I love it when teams bring in stars. We saw it down in South Florida. Obviously, they bring in their football players and actors and stuff like that to games, and we see that in LA all the time. But get some celebs at those Sabres games and let's pump up the Sabres Nation.
It's a tight, from of what I understand of Buffalo sports in general, that is a very tight-knit community. That is a very everybody knows everybody kind of feel in that. So I would not be surprised at all if you're seeing some community outreach there in the form of, hey, some Josh Allen or Sean McDermott or somebody showing up at some Sabres games and trying to rally the troops a little bit. Well, before we get into your power rankings, or actually we've been talking the East. Let's go over to the West for a second.
Yeah.
Obviously a much different story out West to this point. You've got, arguably you have the three best teams, at least three of the best five, I'd say, in the NHL. For sake of argument, we could get lost in the weeds there, but let's just say three of the top five teams in the NHL are in the West. Specifically, they're in the Central Division in Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, it feels like it's a pile of bleh. That there's nothing really. You're gonna have five other teams make the playoffs, but they're very mix and match. They're very blasé. It's like none of them are really gonna amount to anything.
Nobody. Yeah, like I said before, none of the teams outside of like the top ones are, and everybody in the Pacific Division would be out of a playoff spot if they were in the Eastern Conference. They wouldn't even be close. The Ducks would be a point out.
Entire division.
The Ducks, however. And I'm gonna say the Ducks right now are playing some pretty good hockey. They can put up goals. I just like to see them hunker down a little bit more on defense. John Carlson, Jacob Trouba, those veterans on defense have got to, step up. And I think they are. And I think the Ducks are going to end up winning the division, to be honest with you. Now, we talk about teams like Vegas and Edmonton. Well, Edmonton just suffered a huge blow, losing Leon Draisaitl for the remainder of the regular season. Mm-hmm. They did have a big win last night without him in the lineup. I think they doubled up on Utah or whoever it was that they had played. Big win for the Oilers in a much-needed spot. Put them into second right now in the Pacific Division. But Vegas, they're still not showing me anything. 78 points. They're four ahead of the Kings into third. But Vegas is a team that I thought, after making some of those moves at the deadline, would be the ones to start, doing what we've expected of Vegas over the last few years. They get Marner at the beginning of the season. Jack Eichel's had a fantastic season. Pavel Dorofeev has shown that he can be an elite scorer in this league, at least a power play scorer. And then you pick up the defenseman, and yeah, it's just not there. Nobody wanted to win. There were 3 nights, like I said, when like every team in the Pacific lost. I'm like, get it out, get your heads out of your butts, guys. Like, Who wants to get in? Anybody can. And now we've seen resurgences of Nashville out of the depths, and they're currently in the final wild card spot. So the Central could end up with 5 teams making the playoffs because Utah. No, I think Utah's good. I think they get that first wild card spot. I don't see anybody that's going to catch them, and it's going to come down to Nashville, the Kings. You could still say the Sharks and Seattle, but really nobody. I'm disappointed that how poorly those teams have all played in this current stretch, leading up to the end of the season.
Yeah, and real quickly before we keep talking West, real quickly, Boston winds up winning at
Wow.
37 seconds into overtime. So the Boston Bruins get the extra point. They put themselves now into a tie for third in the
Nice.
division,
That's
though
huge.
they are two extra games played. So they're still technically in a wild card spot. We'll see how that all plays out. So we've talked a lot about Anaheim this season because we've both been very impressed. The young guys, McTavish and etc. et al. Out in Anaheim and what we're seeing from the Ducks. At what point does this story be as much the Ducks exceeding expectations as it is Edmonton and Vegas just utterly failing to meet expectations? Edmonton, all right, you've made the Cup final 2 years in a row and gotten your brains bashed in by Florida 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I can kind of see it. Vegas, you got Jack Eichel, and he's been healthy. What do we got to do? What do we got to do here out in the desert? Come on, Vegas. You're not that far removed from being Cup contenders. What's the deal? You know, obviously there's two sides to a story like that. And I hate to take away from the feel good part of Anaheim rising, but in order for them to rise, Edmonton and Vegas had to open the door for them. And they did. They have wide open.
Yeah. Vegas has had so many spurts of inconsistency, and they really have not been injured. Mark Stone has had a fantastic season. He started the season injured and came back.
They haven't had to do the Mark Stone goes on injured reserve until the playoffs.
Not this year. With the amount of star talent that they have, name recognition wise, I expected Vegas to win this division. I think in our predictions show that I think we both had Vegas or Edmonton, one of the two, to win the Pacific. Now, Edmonton, they still have issues. They're still very poor defensively. And Connor McDavid, we've talked a lot of crap about Tristan Jarry not being a great goaltender, not even being a good goaltender. He was on the Penguins and was swapped out for Skinner. But David came to his rescue and backed him up and said, you know what, we've got to play better in front of this guy. He's trying to keep us in these games. So good on Connor for sticking up for his goaltender. We know it's rough for both him and Connor Ingram. But Edmonton's defense, I'm not surprised with how bad that was, because that was an issue before, but now you lose Draisaitl. Really no excuses. They're using McDavid as a crutch. They're trying to get by when he's not on the ice until he's back out there, and then they rely upon him to produce and deliver the assists. Zach Hyman, I've been kind of disappointed in his play this year, not where he was last year at all.
Yeah.
But then let's go to the Ducks. I didn't think the Ducks would be in the spot that they were this early in the season. They've been fantastic. Joel Quenneville gets a ton of props as well, but it's the young guys that have really stepped up their game, mixed in with the veterans. The Ducks have a good thing going. They don't play the cleanest games. They're always going to be probably the first to five is going to win. We saw that last night. They started the game losing early to Vancouver, end up beating Vancouver 5-3, a closer game than it needed to be against the worst team in hockey. But the Ducks, I think they'll tighten it up. Dostal will have to make some big saves come playoff time, but you can't rely upon outscoring the opposition in playoff games. They're tighter, line changes, pairing matchups, things like that become a factor. But yeah, the Ducks, I think if you said, is it as much them as it is the other two, I say 65% it is on the Ducks and 35% it is on Vegas. The Oilers, I'm not going to put them into the picture, but yeah, I think the Ducks have really played themselves, and it much earlier than we anticipated them. I still thought maybe another year or two from now they can start contending, but right now they're going to end up being the number one team in California, and they're going to get that. They have that fan base back. That building is rocking, and all good things going on down there for Anaheim.
Yeah, and as it sits right now, they'd be taking on Utah in the first round of the playoffs. Of course, we got a couple weeks yet for that to hash itself out and iron
just played
itself
a couple
out.
of good games against each other over the last 2 or 3 weeks, so that would be a really entertaining matchup.
And Adam S now able to join us. His attention is no longer divided, and he's remarkably, hey, you're home. Have one for us. It's fine. It's fine. It makes it's all good. It's all good. Now, Larry asks a good question here in the chat room. He's asking, how about the Canucks? They're as disappointing. Larry is a big time Raider. He's a long suffering Raiders fan. He loves to hate his Raiders. The Canucks are just as disappointing as the Raiders have been, with the first 10 picks in the draft and still only winning 5 games. Yeah, the Canucks, they also signaled very early on that they read the writing on the wall. They knew what they were. You send Quinn Hughes to Minnesota in, my gosh.
Yeah.
Was that November or was that
I think
December?
It was like November, I believe. Yeah.
That was the signal right there. We hear about white flag trades. That was a white parachute. That was, we know what we are and we accept ourselves for what we are. We need to fix it.
Yeah. And I was surprised they really didn't sell any other assets at the deadline as well. Elias Pettersson was one of the guys talked about. Evander Kane was another guy being talked about. I just had a conversation with my brother last night about this exact thing, Adam. It's funny that you brought it up and Larry brings it up. Like, is this the lowest of the lows for Vancouver? To me, I think they're going to be at the bottom and irrelevant in the NHL for probably close to a decade. It's not a destination where I think you're going to want to have guys go right now, although it's a beautiful city and it's an awesome community in British Columbia. But I think it's going to be a long time before we see Vancouver rise to relevance again.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? I think we're 5 to 10 years out from them. They had the good runs when they had the Sedins there. I think that's when they missed their opportunity. They lost to the Bruins in the Cup final. Yeah, it's going to be a long, long time before Vancouver is good again.
They had a great push a couple of seasons ago where it was, wow, the young kids, it was like they're too young to realize that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and so they're just kind of doing it anyway. And now they've gone back to, okay, yes, this is what a young, inexperienced team is supposed to look like in the NHL. I'm taking a look real quickly at their draft stock coming up, kind of what draft picks they've got upcoming in this year's draft. They have a pair of 1s and they have a pair of 2nds. They have their own first and they have Minnesota's first. Well, Minnesota's first, that's going to be back in the playoffs. That's going to be probably in the 20s somewhere. They do have their own 2nd and San Jose's 2nd. Then they've got a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, and 3/6. No immediate help. Third round on, you're not getting anything in the immediate, the immediate future that's going to help you. That's down the line, maybe. Sure, you can. You can get some stuff there, but not anything that's going to help you right away. You're talking years down the road. And then let me see if I can pull up if this has. No, I do not have their the Canucks. They've got their own 1 in 27. They've got an extra 2nd round pick in 27, and then they've got an extra 4th as well. So they've got draft capital.
Yeah, they do.
They've got draft capital that they can work with. How well can that? How quickly is that going to turn into anything? I don't think it'll be quick.
I don't think so either. But they do have that at their luxury, though.
Exactly. They've got the pieces. If they want to decide, oh man, here we go. We're throwing them in. They've got some pieces they can use to entice. I don't know. Maybe an Austin Matthews. Maybe. No. Maybe I doubt it, but
further south.
Yeah.
But you know what? Yeah. Like, I mean, hey, if they could land, let's just say they win the lottery and they get the number 1 pick, and then they do get Gavin McKenna, then you might start seeing pieces falling together and building around that. If they don't go with and end up getting McKenna, if they don't get that number 1 pick, who would like to have them would be like Caleb Malhotra, Manny Malhotra's son. Manny Malhotra played a long career in the NHL, a lot of years in Vancouver as well. I think that's a kid that you can build upon, but Vancouver's going to have to build through the draft, and then they start, piecing out some of these guys. We saw, when they ended up sending Horvat to the Islanders a couple of years ago, that was like the first domino to fall. And then the Quinn Hughes thing. They need to get a little bit better in goal. I've always been a believer in Thatcher Demko, but the guy could just not stay healthy. So they really haven't had a reliable goaltender since Roberto Luongo.
There's the truth. There's the gospel truth right there. So as we look at the West and on the whole, as we check out the West, it really does feel like we're just waiting to see who comes out of the Central. We're gonna have an absolute dog fight in the first round between Dallas and Minnesota. Colorado will be awaiting the winner, and then who's ever left standing when the dust settles, that's who's going to win the West in my mind. The only way I could see it being anybody else would be if the combination of Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota just absolutely beat each other up so badly that by the time they get to the Western Conference Final, they have nothing left in the tank, and somebody from the Pacific, pick any of them, because to me they're all interchangeable.
Sure.
Just is able to just get hot enough to where they make it be really quick and easy. A 5-game first round, a 4-game second round, where they play like no more than 10 games total just to get to the Western Conference Final. And they're sitting there just, hey, we're fresh, we're ready to go. And then the Central Division winner is just, guys, we just played 14 games to get in. Yeah. Just to get to that point. That, to me, that's the only scenario I see where it's not one of those 3 teams out of the West coming out and representing.
Yeah, you would think, if it was to go off of today's date, we would have Colorado playing Nashville in the first round. And they've split the season series between the two apiece. Nashville could have Colorado's number. I'm not going to say it's going to be a 4-0 or a 5, or a 4-1 series if the two play. I think Nashville can push them, especially the way that they're playing right now. But yeah, it's got to go through whoever comes out from the Central into the Western Conference Final. They've been the best all year. Now, who is it going to be? I don't know. Whoever's the hottest at the time, whoever can get the key save, whoever can score the greasy goal. When you get to overtime in the playoffs, it's sudden death, and you can continue to play. We've seen a lot of games, Central Division overtime games over the last few years, where like the Stars have gone to multiple overtimes. Colorado's gone to multiple overtimes. That's so much fun. Anything could happen. All you got to do is just get in. Something could happen.
And it happens every year. Some random fourth liner scores a goal from from out of nowhere, and you're left going, wait a minute, how did that, of all the guys, that was the guy, you know, that seventh defender who got out there simply because, you know, it's okay, everybody else, all the other defenders have skated 38 minutes. We need you to go out there for 90 seconds, and the puck finds his tape, and he's ready for it all the time when the bell rings. Exactly. You see stuff like that happen. And obviously once the field gets a little bit more set, we'll obviously have a little bit more firmer discussions on what we think is going to happen. But as it sits right now, to me in the West, it's all about Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota. The other 5 teams that get in are just going to be misfits. They're going to be interchangeable misfits that are going to prove to be, you know, battering ram fodder for the for the Central Division champs.
Yeah.
And Adam's having some fun in the chat room. That's what scares him about the Sabres. They're just 3-11 and over. I feel that as a Blackhawks fan. I feel that in my soul. Anytime it gets to overtime, it's just like, well,
oh, you guys,
they lost that point. Well, at least they managed one out of this.
Yeah. You know what? And I'm so sick. The Kings lost another one last night. I said, if they end up, you know, not making the playoffs by less than 3 points, you can go back to any of the 20 overtime losses they've had or games that they've blown. And you can, that's what makes me upset, is that had they won half of the overtimes that they've lost, they'd be atop the division. That's how bad it's been.
That's the difference. That's the razor's edge.
Crazy.
It's crazy, as much as you love it until it happens to your team, and then you can't stand it, and then it's just you hate it with every fiber in your being, and then it happens to not your team, and and it's all this fully rational. Of course, we can explain the whole thing away, and then it happens to your team, and you're just, I don't want to hear it. I just do not want to hear it. Well, I know we're going to get into your power rankings, but before we do, we've got some news and notes from the NHL, and then we are going to talk some non-NHL stuff here tonight as well. We've got a national championship to celebrate and dissect. We've got another national championship field to set, and we've got professional women's hockey to go through as well. So we've got a lot more on the plate. But before we close the door on NHL, we both kind of had some things in our notebooks, so we'll take an opportunity here to kind of empty them a little bit, and then we'll let Freddie have his opportunity to give us his weekly power rankings here.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's start down in our nation's capital, where the Washington Capitals, they're not having a great season. They're still alive. They're hanging on as best they can. The way things go, I don't want to call them dead yet. I'll put it that way. I don't want to call them dead yet. But
yeah,
Alex Ovechkin.
Yep.
He got his 1,000th career NHL goal last week. There are 2 guys that have gotten that number in NHL history.
In history, yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, arguably the single greatest hockey player to ever live, and this guy.
Yeah.
Alexander Ovechkin. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He is,
without a doubt.
He is whatever you want to say about him. It's probably true about him at this point. I would love to be in the room when they have that discussion for the Hockey Hall of Fame. I want to be the presenter, because I'm just going to stand up and Alex Ovechkin, and then just sit down. That's all you have to do for that presentation.
Absolutely. Adam, if he goes on a final tour next year, and possibly his final season as an NHLer, he could definitely break Gretzky's all-time goals total, because right now he's only sitting, I think it is like 16 goals behind. I think Gretzky had like 1,016.
I'm
and
pulling the number right now.
I think I'm pulling that one from deep. But yeah, Ovi can be the all-time, career goal scorer, playoff, regular season combined.
Yeah, it is absolutely within reach for him. I'm trying to pull up the exact number so that we can
While you pull that up, I'm going to throw out another stat for you.
Perfect.
Just happened last night. Connor McDavid got his 400th career NHL goal. He was the 5th Oiler to do that, and the 3rd fastest to do it. And then he also, with that, picked up his 1200th career point as an Edmonton Oiler already. So fantastic. McDavid, just so magical. He's such a talented guy. And it's kind of a shame, that Draisaitl is out, because those two together are something fun to watch.
Yeah, I've got 2 parts for you there. One, do you think that Ovechkin plays one more season? This is his final. It's the final year of his deal in Washington. I would genuinely hate to see him play anywhere else. To me, this is a play in Washington or play nowhere kind of a situation. So does he play next year? Let's start there.
I mean, he still can. He put up 25 goals this year. He can do it. If he doesn't play next year, I'm going to be highly disappointed that I didn't get out there and watch the Capitals while they were in town this year. I saw the Caps last year, thinking he was going to break the record at that time. But Ovi needs to go off. He and Crosby possibly go off into the sunset. I've liked what, how Andrei Kopitar announced before the season started that this was going to be his final year and he was going to retire. And at the end of every time that he's played a team for the final time, the opposite team has come out to center ice and shook his hand and gave him the much due that he's put in for his entire career. Ovi definitely needs that kind of reception.
Yes.
And so for that point, I do think he's back next year for sure.
I like that. And Gretzky, by the way, it was 1,016 goals.
Yep. Oh, I did. Yeah.
So not going to be this year. So he needs one more year so he can clip that one from the great one before
absolutely.
So the great 8 can take it from take one last one from the great one. And then the other one, you brought up McDavid getting 400.
Yeah.
Is McDavid the most likely guy to overtake Ovechkin in your mind? Because now it's Ovechkin's number that everybody's chasing now for regular season goals. Is McDavid the guy that to you is most likely to take him?
Possibly. I thought, it could have been Austin Matthews if he could have, consistently put up 60 plus goals a year. McDavid, I don't know, goal scoring wise, I don't think he's going to put up 800. He's already put up 800 assists to go along with those 400 goals. So he's a 2-to-1 assist to goal guy. So I don't think he would be one to break that. That's going to take a lot of goals, 600, almost 600 goals.
You're gonna have to take Leon Draisaitl away from. You're gonna have to take Ryan Nugent-Hopkins away from him.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe a guy. Maybe a guy like Celebrini, or who's still young enough. If he can do average 40 a year, you just have to average 40 a year. You have to play 20 years in the league just to get to 800, right?
Right.
So you would have to play 25 years and average 40 goals a year, which is crazy. I talked about it last week while you were gone, Adam, that Cole Caulfield became the first Montreal Canadian player to score 40 goals since the mid-90s. So reaching 40 goals is not an easy feat.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't know. We'll discuss this again as it gets closer, but I don't know if anybody will touch it.
It's a good off-season.
It's a good
off-season discussion.
Absolutely.
We'll put that in the back pocket for later when we're not getting ready for a postseason run here in a little little bit. All right, another one out of the note bag. Now this one came out of your notebook as I'm pushing buttons and getting my colors all changed around so that it can, look the way we want it to. And this is what I get. This is what I get for multitasking 75 things at once here, bouncing around to a bunch of different places. Brent Burns, he is becoming quite the Iron Man down there in Colorado.
Yeah.
This one came out of your notebook. Go ahead, take it away.
So what did I have here? Let me go pull up my notes, Adam. Brent Burns, 995 straight games that he has played, and he is inching closer to the Iron Man Phil Kessel's record of 1,064. Now, Burns, if he plays next year, stays healthy, he's going to break that. And Brett Burns has had a tremendous career. Remember, he started with Minnesota. He was a forward, and then late, I think it was right before he was dealt to San Jose, they converted him to a defenseman, and he's been a defenseman ever since. And I think he's a few games shy of beating Keith Yandel's all-time defenseman games played record, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I don't have those stats up specifically, but 995. He's going to reach 1,000 straight games within the next 2 weeks, and that's so incredible. He's been, and as a defenseman too, you're putting your body through a lot. His physicalness, the shot blocking, playing special teams, power play, killing penalties. That's a hard. You're putting a lot of work and dedication onto your body. And Brent Burns, fantastic player. I think he's a Hall of Famer. What do you think, Adam?
Oh, without question. To me, he's a without question. It's the longevity there. We're talking about, he was drafted in 2003.
Yeah.
He just turned 41.
Do you ever see this? You ever seen the evolution of his player profile picture every year since he started in the league? And then as he started going, the beard started growing and gets longer and longer. He turns into a caveman by the end.
I've got his pictures up right now, and when he was first drafted, he's got this wild man look, and now it's just, there's no longer face, there's just beard. He looks like a lumberjack.
Yeah, good on man. When he and Joe Thornton together were in San Jose, they had those massive beards, man. That's so funny.
The all ZZ Top team there.
The ZZ Top. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So good on Burns. I wanted to throw that out there. He's going to reach 1,000 games played here in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And that's remarkable for him. And not only is he doing it, he's doing it on Colorado, which it's not like he's doing this on Vancouver, where it's, well, we're going to play him because he's the only reason that people are coming to the arena and paying us their hard-earned money. He's doing this with Colorado, where they're
this year,
the best team in the NHL right now.
He still serves a purpose. And can still be, a top six defenseman. His good years are far behind him, but still a serviceable defenseman. And I always wanted that guy on my team. He just seemed like he's just a cool cat, and a good guy to have around. And if you ever look into it, I think he owns like a bunch of acreage and has like a farm where he has all these animals and some exotic animals and stuff like that. I think he actually had animals on his land that he can go out and game hunt as well. Like,
oh my,
he's totally into that kind of stuff. So yeah, do a little research and just read about Brent Burns and what an interesting guy that he is.
Yeah. And he's 41 years old. He's still averaging 19 minutes a night on the ice. As in his age 40 season. He just turned 41 earlier this month. So, but in his age 40 season, to still be averaging 19 minutes a night on the ice for the Colorado Avalanche, and getting ready to go on a what will at least be a 2-round, you would think, playoff run. We hate to assume things like that, but still tremendous stuff. Tremendous stuff for him. Well, one team that has found its way to the bottom of the standings, not necessarily any fault of their own, but it's happened, but still having things to celebrate. The Florida Panthers, Obviously not a good season this year for the Panthers. They're not going to three-peat. It's not going to happen. Too many injuries that they've had to overcome, but there's still milestones to celebrate down in South Florida. Head coach Paul Maurice has now coached in 2,000 NHL games. Just the second coach ever to get that far. The only other coach is Scotty Bowman.
Scotty Bowman.
That many games. So congratulations, Paul Maurice. Job well done. And an NHL lifer.
Yeah. I think they showed him on the Jumbotron last night, that game for the Panthers, and they honored him a little bit, and he teared up. He 2,000 games. You've done a lot in your career. You've been relevant enough where you can be a sustainable NHL coach. And the last 2 years, he finally won those cups that he was searching for so long. He had those good runs in Winnipeg when they had really good teams and didn't make it. But yeah, good on him. 2,000 games. That's incredible. The next milestone for him is probably going to beat Scotty Bowman's record of 21-41, which if he continues to coach 2 more seasons, he'll be able to do that and then get to that 1,000 win plateau to become only the third coach to have 1,000 wins as well.
Yeah. And obviously they're having a bad year this year, but there's enough talent still on that roster that the wins should get there. And he's not yet 60. He just turned 50. He just turned 59 a couple of months ago. So he's still young. He's still relatively young, as coaches go. It's not like he's just a couple of years away from retirement from that standpoint. No reason to think that he couldn't get there. I remember when they first won the cup a couple of seasons ago, and the release that he had on the bench, where you could just see he'd been that close so many times before, and it was finally he could celebrate, and you couldn't help but cheer for him when you saw that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's such a likable guy, and when Florida did win that cup, I was so happy for him because everything he's dedicated his life to, he was able to accomplish, and that's a career defining moment. And Paul Maurice, if I was a player, that would be a guy that I would put my body on the line for if I'm one of his players. He just seems to gain that respect from everybody that he has, and good on him, man. I love milestones. 2,000 games though. That's just jeez.
That's a long time. That's a long time. That's a lot of time standing on a bench in an ice rink in a suit trying to look like you're not freezing to death.
I think he started in Toronto for a couple of seasons. Then he moved to then I think he went to Carolina. And then I think he took like a hiatus, coached over in Russia, and then came back to Winnipeg. So yeah, he's made the rounds.
He has. Yes, he's been everywhere, done it all, from Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. So congratulations to Coach Maurice. And hopefully there are many more. Hopefully there are still many more of those kinds of milestones to come.
Yep.
All right. Let's get into your power rankings a little bit here. Let's do those.
Well, I'll kind of go through those quickly. I know we've spent a lot of time on the NHL so far, and we still have a lot more to discuss.
We still have a ton left to get to in tonight's show. So let's rapid fire go through these power rankings. Now, as we set this up every single week, and as I am, stalling so that I can get all my setup in the background going here. We do this every single week with Freddie. This is the perfect opportunity for you, the fan, listening at home, in your car, at work, wherever you are, just hopefully while you're waiting in line at the TSA, wherever you are, We hope that you're enjoying the show, first of all, but this is a perfect opportunity for you to get involved with the show. If you're watching live tonight across either YouTube or Twitter, hop on into the chat. Let us know what you think of Freddie's power rankings. What do you like about him? What don't you like about him? Let us know what we got right. Let us know what he got wrong. And without further ado, let's dive in here. Coming in at number 10.
Number 10,
Nashville Predators. Yep. They've snuck back into the playoff conversation. The Central Division just keeps rearing its ugly head here.
Yeah, winners of 5 straight, 7-2-1 over their last 10. They have a 3-point lead in that final wild card spot right now. They're only 3 points behind Utah for the first wild card spot. That's the one you want to try to get, so that way you avoid having to play Colorado in the first round. But yeah, good on them. I mean, UC Saros is playing well in net again. They're getting, good defense. They can put the puck in the net. We're starting to see Philip Forsberg go on a super tear. I think he had 9 points in like a 2 or 3 game span over this past week or so. And Steven Stamkos, still being able to put pucks in net. I really like Nashville's finally coming together. It's the team that I thought they were going to be last year, and they were such a bad team. They're good. They're scary. They've got veterans, and I think they may have what it takes to get in. Still a lot to be decided, but they're hot right now.
It's taken almost 2 complete seasons, but yeah, they're finally looking like the all-star team that got assembled 2 summers ago.
Right.
But better late than never, I suppose. Coming in at number 9. The Ottawa Senators. This has got to be the first time they've made it on the list all season long.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is the first time that they have made it, and they, like Nashville, were sitting outside of the playoffs this entire, NHL season, and then all of a sudden they start playing Ottawa style hockey again. This was a team that was in the playoffs last year, like I mentioned. They're getting really good goaltending again. And Ottawa is a tough team. I think they can get in. Now, it's going to be a fight, like we said, with those other 2, teams like the Red Wings and the Islanders trying to make their mark as well. But Ottawa sneaking in at number 9, and it's not a fluke.
No, not a fluke at all. And Adam S saying, I let the crawl go up too early there. If I don't put it up there right away, it's not going to make it up there. I know how I got to push these buttons. So, and I can't just hide. I'm not fancy enough to hide them and just have them wait until, we say them to appear.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I'll get there. I'll keep figuring out ways to manipulate this and make it do what I want it to do. Coming in at number 8.
He's just hoping that he's mad because I have the Sabres down a couple of spots this week.
Yeah, we're gonna get there and have a discussion about that. Coming in at number 8, the Columbus Blue Jackets, another late season riser here as we're getting into playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it all season, Adam. I really like this Columbus team. I like the group that they're made of. 19-3-4 since getting Rick Bowness too. It just, things clicked. I don't know why they couldn't play this way the entire season, or else they would be, battling Carolina for the top of the division. They've battled from not being in a playoff spot to now sitting second behind Carolina in the Metro. They've leapfrogged the Penguins. And I don't see Columbus, much like some of those other teams, I don't see them slowing down. I think they're going to continue, and they're going to solidly make the playoffs. That's great. We need Columbus in the playoffs. Remember what happened a couple of years ago? Tampa Bay was the President's Trophy winner, number 1 seed, and they play Ottawa in the first round, and Ottawa swept them. I mean, I'm not sorry, Ottawa. Columbus swept them in the first round, an 8-1 sweep. So. Columbus, let's get them back. Great town, great community. Love Columbus.
And you get to fire a cannon during a hockey game. I can get behind that. Yeah, we'll have some fun there. At number 7, they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down, they're up again. The Anaheim Ducks. This is starting to make me think. This is starting to remind me a little bit of. I don't know if they'll be able to go this deep this year, but I'm starting to get reminded of them around that 2013, 2015 era Anaheim Ducks, where you were, they were feeling pretty good. They made a deep run. I don't know if this is the year for a deep playoff run for them, but they're going to make noise in the postseason.
They're going to get to the postseason, and that's crazy. I didn't think they were going to do it so quickly. And Adam, solid hockey. They've played it all season long. They've had roller coaster ups and downs, but when they're hot, they're one of the most exciting teams in the league. And I think they finally put everything together. They're healthy. Once they got Mikael Granlund back and healthy, that kind of really solidified all the pieces. And then you brought in John Carlson on the back end at the trade deadline. I really like the Ducks, and with a 5-point lead over who is it, Edmonton right now in the Pacific, and Edmonton and Vegas struggling, the Ducks I think could win the division, Adam. And that's something that you would never have heard me say before this season started.
No, back in late September, early October, no way. There was zero way I would have been talking about Anaheim winning the Pacific. I think at this point, barring something very catastrophic, unforeseen happening, my feeling on the Ducks is not only are they winning the division, I think they win a playoff round. I don't know that they make it anywhere past the second round, but I think there's no reason to me when I look at them that I say, oh, they can't win a playoff round. Not with the Pacific the way it is this year.
And they've got a pretty solid home record, 23-10-2. They've turned the Honda Center into a tough place to come in and play again. The fans are rowdy. They've just rebuilt everything down in Orange County, and the Ducks are doing everything right. Very dangerous team. Now, how deep will they go? That's still to be decided, but I do agree. I think they can win a first-round matchup.
Absolutely. Then coming in at number 6. Now, this is a team that we're used to seeing a lot higher on this list. They're slipping a little bit. They've fallen into the middle of the pack, the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
No reason they can't go back up, right?
No, I just don't. I think this is probably where they're going to be. 4 or 5, I think 5 or 6. They're still like 5 points behind Dallas. I think their run at trying to catch Colorado has come to an end. They're probably going to end up finishing 3rd, but that's still to be decided. Home ice advantage, you want to have that in your matchup against the Stars. So right now they'd be starting on the road. Minnesota still playing great. Both them and Dallas a little bit of a slump right now, kind of around that 500 hockey mark. But definitely. And I have said it again. It sucks that it's such a good team, regardless of who it is, Dallas or Minnesota, one of them is going to be out after the first round.
Yeah.
But it's how it is, unfortunately, with the way the playoffs are.
I've made the argument before. The NHL, unfortunately, you got to make each individual round enticing. It's not the NFL where it's you're going to get eyeballs because simply it is the NFL playoffs. The NHL, you've got to make that first round. You've got to give something worth watching. It just unfortunately, it is you are going to lose one of your probably top 5 teams in the entire league in the first round.
Real quick, Adam, while we're on the topic of the Minnesota Wild, I wanted to send my condolences out to Jessie Pierce and her family, who was tragically lost in a terrible accident at the beginning of the week. Jessie was a female reporter who covered the Minnesota Wild. I followed her on all of her social media channels as well. And it's just a tragic loss that somebody who loves just talking hockey, and she was really good at what she did, left us far too soon. But I did want to put that out there tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Condolences out to her entire family, she and her young boys. That is very sad to see when that came across. So
that hits real close to home. We do this for fun, Adam.
Yeah.
And when you see a colleague or somebody like that, especially somebody so young that has kids like you and I do, it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts absolutely. So the Minnesota hockey community mourning that. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. All right, moving to number 5, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've been in the power rankings basically the entire season. There's no scenario as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. There is no scenario at this point that they haven't seen. You're not going to overwhelm Tampa at any point. You just have to beat them.
Yeah, and Buffalo has been the one to do it in the last couple of weeks. Tampa Bay is just so good. Nikita Kucherov leading the league in scoring, and I think he could win the Hart Trophy now if he can finish as the top, point getter in the NHL. I think he beats out Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid and wins that Hart Trophy. I've talked about Kucherov all season long. I just love the dude. He had a stretch this past 2 weeks when I think he had like 20 points in like a 6-game span. He was averaging over 3 points a game, which is nuts. Tampa Bay, absurd. Absolutely. Tampa Bay, really good. And, they could have been in the 4th in the rankings. I just put them at 5 because Buffalo, I felt, had a little bit more momentum, and then Buffalo loses tonight. It happens every time we put the power rankings on. A team that I have up there loses the night of our show.
and it causes questions. I'm just chuckling a little bit because you're absolutely right about Kucherov and the Hart. Going back to November, had you told me that the Hart was going to go to anybody other than Nathan, that the Colorado Avalanche were still going to basically be shoo-ins for the President's Trophy at this point, but the Hart was going to not go to Nathan MacKinnon,
right?
I would have never, but here we are. That's why they play it all out. And yeah, absolutely. Kucherov absolutely could. MacKinnon still could. I don't think McDavid does at this point, but I could still see it going to MacKinnon, but Kucherov would be it would not be an upset if it went to Kucherov.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, his last 10 games, he has 8 goals and 16 assists, and he's a plus 16.
That's
I did watch a game the other night. He did record his first career shorthanded goal. He doesn't play on the penalty kill. It happened as he was coming out of the box serving a penalty, and he got an outlet pass, took it in for a breakaway goal. So out of all Nikita Kucherov's goals in his career, he's got one shorthander.
He's got one shorty, and there it was. So as we get to Buffalo at number 4, our friend Adam S. puts in there, now you were expecting some pushback. He actually feels that 4 might be a little high for the Sabres at this point. There's an argument that after back-to-back losses, tonight being one of them, that maybe 4 is a little high. So you have them at 4. Defend yourself, sir.
I could have, if I'd known after tonight's game, I probably would have had Tampa Bay ahead of them. But Buffalo, having a little adversity right now. A team that had, once they've established a lead, was a team that closed it out. I was kind of surprised that they let that one slip away tonight and then lose that game to Boston in extra time. They had a terrific Western road trip in which they had only given up 1 goal in the first 3 games before that 6-5 slobber knocker of a game against the Ducks. That was if that was a Stanley Cup preview, I mean, I'd hate the Ducks being in it, but that was super entertaining hockey. And I was talking with Adam S. We were chatting back and forth. I'm like, this is outstanding. Buffalo, solid on defense, really good team. Lindy Ruff has just done such a great job. One of those coaches that's had a tremendous career, like many other coaches in the league, with like the John Coopers and the Paul Maurices. Lindy Ruff has been fantastic.
Absolutely. Adam S. in the chat also saying, sign me up for that as a Stanley Cup final. We'll see what it is. Then coming in at number 3, now we're getting into the very familiar territory here. Number 3, the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, Dallas coming in at number 3. They're still up there. Losers of 2 straight, though. Had a big loss against Utah, in which their 15-game point streak was snapped. And another bad loss, I think, last night to the Devils at home, giving up 6 goals. That's twice in a week span in which Dallas has given up 6. Now, I don't think there's any problems with Dallas. They're still good. Win out and they get home ice over Minnesota. That's what you got to look forward to now. I don't think they're going to catch Colorado. I think you just have to, maintain and just get the job done and focus for the first week of April.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good job, Colorado, doing what you need. It looked like Colorado maybe would slip there for a little bit and open the door a little bit for Dallas. They slammed the door. You're absolutely right. It's all right. Lock in that 2. You've got home ice then in the first round, and who knows? Maybe something happens and you wind up with home ice for the rest of the Western Conference playoffs, the rest of the run there. You never know, but absolutely focus on 2.
Wyatt Johnson picking up his 40th goal, and then you have Jason Robertson right now sitting at 39. So Dallas is going to have 2 40-goal scorers this season, so they can definitely light the lamp.
And you've still got Ottinger in net there. There's no reason why they can't make a run. There's a reason why they're one of the 3 teams in the West that everybody feels good about. Coming in at number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina's still chugging along, man. They're gonna clinch the Metro here shortly, and I don't know what else to say about Carolina. They just get the job done. Outstanding home record as well, so it's going to have to go through Raleigh in order to get to the Cup, I think. But then you do have those teams, with Tampa and Buffalo that will give them a fight. I would like an Eastern Conference matchup of like Buffalo and Carolina, I think, or if it's Tampa Bay and Carolina, you're going to get some fantastic hockey out of those teams, and Carolina's good.
Rod Brindamore has a style, has a system that he likes, and they know it, they make it work.
Can they do it in playoff time? That's the one thing, is Rod Brindamore just can't get it done in the postseason.
We're going to talk about this more as we get closer. I feel the East is going to come down. It's very much going to be like March hey, it's March. We can, cross pollinate a little bit. To me, the East is going to very much come down to like the March Madness tournament, and it's going to come down to matchups. Where does everybody, first of all, when the dust settles, who's actually in and where are they? Who's actually going up against whom? That's really what's going to make a difference, because there's going to be some teams in the East that you'd look at and you'd think, oh yeah, they're really good, but they have to play their kryptonite in the first round. When
that time comes, we'll when the playoffs are announced and the teams are all settled, we'll definitely run through that and give our previews of who we think is going to come out of each matchup.
Yeah, but to
That's
me,
a couple weeks away.
It's going to be here before we know it. But that to me is really, it's going to be so important in the East, is just how does the board line up? And then finally, number 1, they've been number 1 basically the entire season. We thought maybe they might slip for a little bit. No, they're staying right there. The Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, Avs 104 points, the first team to clinch a playoff spot this season in the NHL. And, that I don't know what to say about them. Picking up Nazem Kadri was huge, and it's going to be huge for them. They're going to rely upon him. I think, is Gabe Landeskog still injured? I'm not quite sure on his health right now.
I believe he is yet still out. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know where he's going to be, but Colorado is going to. If anybody, I don't know. I don't think anybody can beat them. I think they can beat themselves.
He did come back on Sunday. I apologize.
He did. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Come back on Sunday. Yes.
Okay. Good. Well, that's another huge.
And in fact, he scored a goal.
Piece. Yeah, he's had a really good season. Nice to see him back.
Yep. So we'll see. It's still Colorado, still the king. They're going to be the kings of the Central. They're going to win the President's Trophy. We'll see what does that matter when it comes to the actual playoffs. Because as we know, just because you win the President's Trophy doesn't mean anything once you get to the playoffs. They're a whole other animal.
Yeah, Jared Bednar. I mean, they just won a cup, within the last 5 years, and anything less than that, I think, is a disappointment for Colorado, especially how dominant they've been all season.
Yep. All right. Those are Freddie B's power rankings for this week. If you like them, be sure to give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a heart on Twitter, on YouTube, any place there. If you don't like them, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you do or don't like, and we'll have some fun. We can have some fun banter back and forth there on those. All right. We are going to take for ourselves. It's been a show. We've been going. We're actually going to take ourselves a quick little break, though. We've got some non-NHL stuff to talk. We've got NCAA. We have a women's national championship to discuss. We've got a men's bracket to go over, and we're going to peek into the PWHL as well, as they had a couple of games on the docket tonight, as well as their playoff picture is starting to come into focus as well. This is the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, earn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Freddie B and Adam Karnik back with you for a little bit here yet to wrap up the night. That was a lot of NHL.
That was a lot of NHL.
Woo! My goodness, we emptied the notebook there. Well, when you had 15 games yesterday, and then a couple tonight. Hey, good evening, Mikey Two Guns jumping on in. He's happy. He's celebrating. His Bruins came from behind. Yeah, we'll call it come from behind. They had a lead, lost the lead, and now they won in overtime. Yeah, we'll call that a come from behind.
That's a big 2 points for the Bruins.
That's a massive 2 points for the Bruins. 2 points they absolutely had to have. So celebrating that. But we got other things as well. It wasn't just NHL on the docket for tonight. we have a national championship to discuss. The Wisconsin Badgers winning the NCAA Women's Hockey Championship back-to-back against Ohio State. Now, anybody beating Ohio State, I am okay with in my book.
Yeah, of course.
Being a proud Michigander, anybody that beats Ohio State is okay in my book.
No, congrats to the Lady Badgers. Back-to-back championships, and I think what's that, 5 now in the last 12 years, I think it is, for Wisconsin. I mean, outstanding. I didn't think they'd get past Ohio State. The way Ohio State rolled through the tournament, putting up big goals, winning 6-1 over Yale and then beating Northwestern 5-0. Wisconsin had to play an overtime game in which they got past Penn State to get to the championship game. And then they end up beating Ohio State in that championship game 3-2. But that was a good tournament.
It was an excellent tournament. Badgers had a 2-0 lead in that championship game. Ohio State tied it, but ultimately Wisconsin gets the job done. Now, how about this for looking at it? How would you like to be Wisconsin team captain Carolyn Harvey? She wins the national title. This is the year she's had. All right, so far she wins the national title, her third in 4 years there at Wisconsin. Yep. She wins the Patty Kazmaier Memorial Award, which is the top female hockey player in all of college hockey.
Yep.
She was on Team USA. She was the most valuable player of the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy.
Yeah.
She's had a busy couple of months here.
At what point do you just pinch yourself and say, is this really real? Is this really happening?
No kidding. And now at this point, I would hope what's next for her is going into the PWHL draft and going pro and then moving.
I was just going to ask you, Adam, is she number 1 overall pick caliber?
She's certainly going to be in that discussion. Absolutely. I mean, my goodness, the resume kind of speaks for itself there at that point. They'll do some more digging on that. The PWHL, they haven't announced when their draft is going to be.
Okay.
Well, they work in progress. That's one of the things with fledgling leagues like that. You still kind of iron out a bunch of the things like that. But she's absolutely going to be in that discussion for sure for the number 1 overall pick there in the PWHL. But congratulations to Wisconsin, a job very well done. And it was an excellent tournament. Another note from that tournament, the Frozen Four for the women was there in Happy Valley at Penn State. Penn State got to play at home in its first ever appearance in the women's Frozen Four. That program, that whole hockey program there in Penn State has come a long way. I mean, you've got Gavin McKenna, going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NHL, playing there at Penn State. They made the Frozen Four for the first time. They've made huge strides with their men's program, and their women's program is coming right along too. So good to see that.
Yeah, Pagula Arena right there. It was a rocking house. And I mean, when you get to host a national championship tournament like that, that's awesome. And that's just going to, lead to better things. You said this was Penn State's first time for the women Nittany Lions.
Yes. Their first appearance in the Frozen Four. Yep.
Yeah. So good things happen in Happy Valley.
Yes, some big stuff happening there. Now let's go over and let's talk about the men for a moment because their tournament is about to start. We've got the field set. We've got the top 4 teams. And again, in collegiate men's hockey, my in-laws aren't going to be happy with me saying this, but that's okay. Michigan is now the state of hockey. You've got the top 4 teams in this tournament. 3 of them hail from the Mitten State. You've got number 4, the defending champion, Western Michigan Broncos at number 4. You've got at number 3, you've got the Michigan State Spartans. and the number 1 overall seed in this tournament, you've got the Michigan Wolverines overall in this tournament. Overall, the matchups are set as Michigan will be taking on Bentley, Minnesota Duluth, and then the winner of that will take on the winner of Minnesota Duluth and Penn State, Gavin McKenna. Obviously, that's going to be the big one there. Then number 4, Western Michigan will be taking on Minnesota State. The winner of that will get the winner of Denver and Cornell.
Yeah, it's a tough bracket.
Very tough bracket there. Then the next shift down, number 3, Michigan State will be taking on UConn, and then the winner of that will take on the winner of Dartmouth and Wisconsin. And then finally, in our final bracket there, number 2, North Dakota taking on Merrimack, and then we'll get the winner of Providence and Quinnipiac. That's the semifinals. That's the entire field of 16 for the men's bracket. What do you think of that overall?
This is going to be tough. I don't think there's any easy road for any of the teams in any of the 4 quarters of this bracket. Just looking down at the bracket where you got Western Michigan playing Minnesota State. Minnesota State's the number 13 team in the country. And if you can get past them, then you're going to have to play either Denver or Cornell in that regional finals game. That's a lot. I think Western Michigan, it's going to be incredible if they can repeat what they did last year, because they're going to have the toughest road, I think, to get to the Frozen Four. And then when you do, get in there, you're probably going to have to play either Michigan or Penn State in that semifinals game. So then you look on the other side, Adam, and you got Michigan State, UConn, Dartmouth, and Wisconsin. All of those are really good teams. I like to look down at North Dakota as a team to possibly advance. If I had to pick right now, I'm probably going to go with, I really like Western. I do like them. I like some of the players, their goaltender, Hampton Klukinski, a Kings prospect. So I've been following Western Michigan quite a lot this year. But if I had to predict a championship right now, it's probably Michigan over North Dakota, with the Wolverines winning it all.
As I'm looking at this, I agree with you. First of all, that that Western Michigan region, for lack of the better phrase, that'll actually be out in Colorado. That is going to be a gauntlet for anybody to get through. That's going to be a hard fought one to get through. I hate to say this, but I do think that this is going to wind up being very chalky. I do think our Frozen Four is going to be the top 4 ultimately. Where I could see, I think North Dakota and Michigan State, I think they definitely make it to Vegas, and we have a 2v3.
Yeah.
If we're going to have upsets, I think it's either going to come with Western Michigan getting upset and not making it out of the Colorado region. And I could see Denver coming out of that. That would be the one to me would be the most likely. And then the other one is in Albany, in the Albany regional. If it's not Michigan, it's going to be Penn State, so to me, that's where, I do think it ultimately we wind up with chalk in Vegas, that we wind up 1v4, 2v3. But if we're going to have upsets, those are the 2 regions to me, the Albany, New York region, the Michigan region, and the Western Michigan out in Colorado.
The one thing I just don't see out of Penn State. So let me look at they're playing Minnesota Duluth, and then they'd probably play Michigan. So Penn State only went 1-7-1 against all the schools that are ranked ahead of them, including Minnesota Duluth and Michigan. So they didn't do too well against any of the schools that are in this tournament ranked ahead of them. So they may have the number 1 prospect and a future lottery pick in Gavin McKenna, but I don't think Penn State advances. I think they actually lose the first game of the tournament.
Oh, all right. Minnesota.
I do.
Okay.
That's going to be on Friday night.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really good game.
It will be exciting. It will be entertaining for sure. So we'll keep our eyes on that. That starts right away tomorrow. Our regional semifinals start. That starts up tomorrow. Then the regional finals will be this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And then the semifinals are April 9th in Las Vegas. The championship will be April 11th in Las Vegas.
I might have to make a road trip.
That would be a fun road trip. That would be a fun road trip.
Now that I'm thinking about it, depending on who's in that Frozen Four there, I might make a weekend trip up to Vegas just to watch it.
And it's an early game, local time puck drop. It looks like the start time for the national championship will be 5:30 out in Las Vegas. So a relatively early puck drop for that. Nice. So good stuff going on there. And that'll be April 11th, which that is as I remind myself, that is a Saturday. So, a little weekend excursion out into the desert, out to Sin City, never hurt anybody. I don't think.
Not at all.
So, all right, we've got one more here to get to yet tonight, and then we will wrap it up. What a show we have had here tonight. Woo!
Really good.
So glad that you guys are here with us. Hope you're enjoying it too as we're going through this. Wanted to touch on the PHL because they are also getting into their playoff push as well. Their playoff picture is starting to take shape out in the PWHL. They had 2 games as well going on tonight. So the NHL had 2, the PWHL had 2 games tonight. And I'm pulling up the final scores. 1 game went final before we even got on the air tonight. The Montreal victory 3-0 over the Minnesota Frost. And then in Chicago, in one of the final takeover tour games of the season, we had the Seattle Torrent beat the New York Sirens 4-1. So a big win for Seattle in that one. As we look at the playoff picture overall in the PWHL, now remember, it's an 8-team league. The top 4 teams make the playoffs, and they do the 3-2-1 format as well. So you can make up a lot of ground very quickly in this. As I'm
you've got the top. You've got the top 3 teams pretty much already set in stone, and it's really going to come down to who's going to be that 4th playoff team to get in.
Yep. Right now there was a big, with Montreal winning tonight, there was a bit of a jump. Minnesota went from 1 all the way down to 3. So they are bunched in those top 3. So a lot to determine there. But yeah, it does feel like as we're getting down to, everybody's got 8 games left to go in their schedule. They play a 30-game schedule. Everybody's got 8 left. Boston, Montreal, and Minnesota, it does feel like they are in at this point. They could potentially get knocked out, but it would take a lot to get them out at this point. You need, looking at the standings right now, the magic number to hit would be 55 points. Boston's 10 points away. Montreal's 12 points away. Minnesota's 13 points away from that. And that number will come down too as teams continue to lose games.
Yeah.
But that 4th spot right now, it's the Toronto Scepters holding on by a point in front of the Ottawa Charge and just 4 points in front of the New York Sirens. So that was a massive loss for New York tonight in Chicago, failing to record a point. Their 11th regulation loss of the season. Only Seattle, the team that beat them, has had more regulation losses to this point in the season. So New York really struggling to find points in this season.
You're talking about Toronto right now. They're currently sitting fourth in the standings at 31 points, a point ahead of Ottawa. They have a big game Friday hosting Boston, in which they can possibly get some points. And then they play Vancouver, which you would think could be a win as well, also a home game. So Toronto could kind of make a little bit of separation. Ottawa is going to be on the road at Seattle on Sunday evening as well. So we may start seeing, the top three have already kind of put themselves in position. It's really going to be a fight, I think, between Toronto and Ottawa, and maybe throw in New York.
Yeah, maybe throw in New York there, but to me, it feels really like it's going to be Toronto and Ottawa for that fourth and final spot. That's
Toronto doesn't make it in both men's and women's professional hockey. Let's just burn it down.
That would be brutal. That would be brutal.
And Ottawa gets two teams into the playoffs.
That's
crazy.
Now that would feel great. That would feel fantastic.
Adam, I kind of touched on it last week, but you brought it up and you have more information about it. Talk to us again about how the playoffs are going to be and their national TV rights.
Oh yeah, so the PWHL announced last week that they have a national distribution deal for television rights with Ion Network for the Walter Cup Finals. There's one more game in the Takeover Tour in the PWHL, and that will be this Saturday. That game is in I just said it and then I lost it, but that game will also be aired on Ion. So and Ion has an antenna. If you still have an antenna, you can get Ion. They stream for free over the air, and they use free streaming services. They do. So any smart TV you have now, whether it be a Samsung, an LG, whatever the manufacturer is, a lot of them have those internal free channel apps now that they provide, and Ion is in those list of channels. I was just at a client's house today setting up their TV, and I did see Ion on there. So yes, it is available. Everybody should be trying to tune in and watching this. Yeah, so it's not hiding behind a paywall now when they have these games. So it's fantastic for the league, helps to give them a bit more exposure, but the Walter Cup Finals will be aired live nationally on Ion Network. So you'll be able to catch that. They are still putting games on their YouTube channel as well. And I'm curious to see if that will still be going on even with the games that are broadcast on Ion. I would expect that they are, especially because Ion is free to stream and catch over the air, but that'll be something I haven't seen that confirmed. So that's something to look at as well. One thing that could bump Montreal down a little bit as we look at it now, of course, they won tonight 3-0. They won tonight 3-0 against the defending Walter Cup champs and played incredibly well. And Renee Desbiens had a fantastic game tonight, getting the shutout for the victoire. But they are without their captain. They are without Marie-Philippe Poulin for at least another week and a half. She will be out until at least April 5th. She was injured. She got injured, of course, during the Olympics. She missed the first USA versus Canada game due to an injury. She re-aggravated that injury about a week ago playing with Montreal, and they put her on long-term injured reserve, retroactive to, I think her last game was the 15th of March. So they are going to be without their captain for the next couple of games. Not an ideal time to be without your captain when you're trying to settle in and finalize a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think though for Montreal, they do have a big game coming up at home against New York on Saturday. So they were able to win tonight. Or was it tonight you said?
Yes, they won tonight. Yep, they won tonight in Minnesota.
I think you just got to get Poulin healthy, and I think Montreal's a very good team. They're going to be okay, and then when they do get her back, it's going to be that final push and get her right in time healthy for a shot to try to knock off. Right now, they would be playing Minnesota, so you want to defend, you want to knock off the defending champs in the first round of the playoffs. That's the way to do it.
Yep. Now it is a massive difference. As we're talking playoffs too, it's good to remind everybody it is a massive difference in the PWHL, all the different seedings. There's a world of difference between being 1 and 2. Obviously 3 and 4, you know, 4 is better than anything because you're still in the picture. But if you are the top seed, you actually get to select your first round opponent. You get to look, you select either the 3 or the 4, and you get to select your opponent then for the semifinals.
Gotcha.
And then if you're number 2, you get the other one, whomever the other one is. So
most likely you're going to have a 1-4-2-3 matchup.
You might. It doesn't always come out that way, but you might. You might. Sometimes it's just, hey, when we played the number 3 seed, we beat the pants off them every time, so we want to grab them.
Yeah, that's true.
So one last note here on the PWHL before we close it out. I was checking the attendance numbers of the 2 games tonight. First of all, the Takeover Tour game in Chicago. I love to see that they got just over 10,000 fans.
Did they really?
Chicago tonight. They had 10,006. I love seeing that. I was able to take my family, and the 4 of us went to the first game in Chicago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we had a wonderful time. It was fantastic. There were only a shade over 7,000 there for that game, and it involved the Minnesota Frost. So we were a little surprised that at the number there, and it was one of the lowest attendance numbers for any of the Takeover Tour games, and they've been doing this for, my goodness, ever since the league started. This is the 3rd season they've been doing these kind of games. So that's not the kind of numbers you want to be making there if you want to push for a team in Chicago. But between Chicago getting just over 10,000 in attendance tonight and 6,800 were in attendance in Minnesota tonight to see Montreal and the Frost play, that puts the entire league right at the 2 million fans mark.
Well, that's outstanding.
Which in 3 seasons, and let's face it, the first 2 seasons, there were just 6 teams in the entire league. And now you've added 2 more this year. They are getting incredible numbers reaching out. They have had, we continue to see week in and week out when they go to places like Washington, D.C. This was the most attended women's professional game in the U.S. when Seattle had its home opener. It's franchise home opener this season. It was the biggest crowd that had ever been there for a North American women's hockey game. We see them. The Denver numbers have been unbelievable when they've gone to Denver and played in that arena. If they don't put a team in Denver next season,
they've got to put a team in Denver. Yeah,
that's a shoe-in. But even the regular teams, we're having Vancouver. The Vancouver Goldeneye play in their own dedicated arena, and they are getting terrific attendance numbers. Yeah. We're seeing excellent numbers from this, which is a great sign of health for the league. So job well done to the PWHL and the fans too for continuing to support even beyond just the initial season.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, I know we're going to be wrapping up here. And I just want to throw out tomorrow night's slate of games in the NHL. We've got some doozies. And
Yes.
we've got games with major playoff implications. I'm going to run these down real quick if you don't mind.
Go for it.
We've got Columbus at Montreal, Pittsburgh at Ottawa, and we've got Dallas and the Islanders. That's going to be a really big game as well. Ones I'm looking forward to. Obviously, I'm going to keep my eye on Nashville. They're going to be home to New Jersey, but Vegas and Edmonton. 6:30 p.m. start here on the West Coast, 9:30 Eastern. That is going to be an outstanding game. I hope we get everything we bargained for and not just, both of these teams not trying to pull out a win. A 3-point game is going to be disastrous for everybody else who's trying to chase them. But we do have major games involved playoff teams tomorrow. So big slate of games. I'm looking forward to it. Plus, we got the kickoff. I mean, Major League Baseball opening day started tonight, but then we got a full slate of MLB games tomorrow as well. Busy sports day. Sweet 16 also starts. Adam, we've got so much going on, and we cover it all at iesportsradio.com. We've got Bullpen Bulletin on Monday nights where we're talking Major League Baseball. We're talking NCAA and NBA basketball as well on Full Court. And, iesportsradio.com is going to be your best friend in the next couple of weeks as we get into all these major sporting events.
Absolutely. We got just tomorrow, you've got Major League Baseball, you've got NHL playoffs, you've got Sweet 16 basketball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You've got the Frozen Fours tournament starts in college hockey tomorrow. A ton to get through, and we will be here for it.
Yes, sir.
That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Oh, my goodness. We went through a lot. Woo! Thank you. Lots of people to thank and go through. First of all, our sponsors. Once again, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. The jerky that's on a whole other planet. Go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They're still offering free shipping on orders of $50 and above. So be sure to check them out. Thank you as well to Vital Apparel, the brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use the promo code IESR at checkout and you get 15% off of your order. And be sure, as we're getting into this spring sports season, be sure to follow along with IE Sports Radio on Twitter, on YouTube, on TikTok, at IE Sports Radio. And be sure to check out the website, iesportsradio.com. You'll be able to check out all the shows, all the hosts, all the insiders. Everything you want to know is right there for you. This show is also available for you on Twitter at IESR Neutral Zone. He is at Freddie B_sports. I am at Adam_Karnik. Together, we do this crazy thing called the Neutral Zone every Wednesday night. We have lots of fun doing that with you. Thank you to everybody that's hanging out in the chat room with us tonight. Of course, we had Adam S. having all kinds of fun with us. We had Jess as well hanging out with us. The one and only Larry B. He was a busy man having some fun in the chat room with us as well. All the duck comments in there. Brian hopping into the chat room as well from Twitter. He was excited about his Bruins winning. And also Mike T. Guns, thank you to you guys for hanging out in the chat room with us as well. Finally, thank you, the viewers, all 232 for checking out the show here tonight. We really do appreciate it. Until next week, he is Freddie, I am Adam. We are the Neutral Zone for IE Sports Radio. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We will see you next time. We'll be breaking down the Frozen Four and all the other craziness. Have a good one, everybody.
Good night, everyone.